All right, again, we're going to work on the guessing game program. I copied or sent this to you. I'm just going to copy it right now so that I have it. All right, so let's get into Android Studio. If you're not there already, I'm going to start a brand new project. So let's see. Yep. I'm going to create a new project. It'll be an empty activity. You've seen this all before. I'm just going to call it what it is, and that is guessing game. All right, I'm putting the blank space in it in the name, and you notice again that in the package name it runs it together. All right, save it wherever you typically save your stuff. Make sure your language is Java, and I've got the minimum SDK at 16. Totally fine. All right, and finish. Now, I'm just going to do one thing real quickly, and that is in my main activity. I'm just going to paste in that comment that I put in. Okay, so there it is. I'm not going to do anything in main activity for a while. Instead, we're going to build this a little bit differently. All right, and if you say I don't know what you mean, you're going to understand in just a couple minutes. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our strings right away. All right, so if you would please open up, go into your res folder, and under your res folder, open up your values folder, and under your values folder, open up your strings.xml file. All right, hopefully you can see how I got there. Okay, res, values, strings.xml. Right now it's got just this in it, which has got the name of our app in it. And I'm going to add about 5 more strings here. And I'm going to copy this down a bunch of times. And I'm going to start changing them then. So you probably have already guessed at the top of the program, we're going to have the title, Android Guessing Game, and that's going to be this. Underneath that, we're going to have an edit text, and that edit text will have a hint in it, all right, that says enter guess. Our calculate button will have the text in it calculate. Our clear button will have in it the text clear, and the text view that we use to hold our results will have just results here. Does all that make sense? Do you both have that? All right, I'm just going to do a file save all. All right, and for now at least, I'll put this strings file to bed. Okay, all right, next. Now we're going to do this differently. We're going to go over to our activity main. We're not going to drag out a flipping thing. We're going to build it all by just using text. Why? Because that's how a lot of developers do it, and at least you'll have gone through the experience of doing it once. All right, so open this up, and the first thing I want to do is I don't want their text view. I'm going to put in my own stuff here. Okay, all right, and again, you don't have to do this. If you look on the screen, you don't have to do this, but this line really hangs out in the middle of nowhere, this first XML namespace, so I always hit enter and put it on a line by itself. You don't have to do that though. Right? I just feel better doing that. All right. So the first thing we're going to put in here is we're going to put in a text view. All right. And you notice that as soon as we put that in, it puts in some stuff for us automatically. You can see this, and I want to show you something. If you look for just a second, you've got your choice now. You can do this, and if you do this, right there, if you do this, notice it puts in the ending tag for you. All right. Or you can just make it basically a self-ending tag. Either one of those will work just fine. I'm going to do it like that, but you can do it either way. It doesn't matter. So typically the first thing that you put in here, you don't have to, is you set up an ID first. All right, so I typed in ID, I'm hitting tab, and now it's going to allow me to put in an ID. And I called it TV for text view, main title. All right, then the width and the height, I set both of those to wrap content. And I'm going to just put this on a line by itself for now, just so I've got it out of the way. Okay. All right, next, I gave it a margin on top. Do you remember how when we took a control and we put it on the top, and then I manually showed you how you can sit and drag that arrow to the very top? Remember that? And then I showed you on the side where you get those, the arrows and stuff, and we changed that to 16. Okay, this is what happens when you do that. So we're going to set this to 16 density pixels or DPs right now. So I'm saying Android, in fact, you don't even have to do that. I'm going to put down here margin. And notice what it gives us. Well, what I want is a margin top. There it is, Android layout margin top, so I can double click on it. And I'm going to set that equal to 16 dp. All right. And I want to put some text in here. So text. And what do you want to put in for that? We want @string/ and notice what comes up in here. You see this? I want the main title because that's what's going in there. So there's my main title. I'm going to set the text color to black. And #000000. I'm going to set the text size. I'm going to set that to 18 SP. I'm going to set the text style to bold. So I'm going to give you a second to catch up, but this is what you should have in there so far. You're caught up? Good. No, that's fine. Like I said, we're not in any hurry. I think we'll finish this probably by no later than 2 anyway. But we'll see. All right, so I'm going to type in the word constraint here. And I want to have constraint, well, I want an end. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I'll just manually do it. Android, sorry, not Android, app colon layout underscore constraint end to end of equal parent. And I'm going to do a couple more of these. So I'm just going to copy this because it's easier. Now I'm going to get errors because I've got it in there 3 times. But this next one will be start to start of. And the last one will be top to top of. All right, and I'm going to put in my end, and I shouldn't have any errors. Okay, all right. I'm going to save this, and just, you don't have to do this, but just notice there's what we have in there so far. All right, I can blow this up so you can see it. I'm going to move this over. There we go. So there's what we have. Okay, now you don't have to do this, but just so you see it, I wanted to make one change in here from here. In other words, I guess right, get to here. Get so you're on the design form. And single click on your title. So it looks like that. You'll notice the constraints that are in there, right? And you notice there's no bottom constraint right now? That's good. That's fine. We'll set that up later. Are you with me?
No, mine says text view.
Yours says what?
Text view, not instead of Android guessing game on this title.
Right here?
Yeah.
Well, did you in the strings file? Where are we? Get that back. Did you put in main title, this line right here?
Can you go back to the code for that? The last three that we did, I still have errors on them.
Yep. All right. Okay, I've got this thing here. I shouldn't have that. That's why that's giving me that error. So, okay. And don't worry about this blank space. We'll get rid of at least the stuff I have. I'll get rid of it in just a minute. Okay, are you okay? Then I want you to go back into your design mode just to show you. So single click. Does yours now say Android guessing game? No? Well, then.
I somehow,
Okay. No. The text over here should say this. If you look, the text should say @string/main title.
I'm back on the strings page somehow.
Okay.
Could I see your strings page?
Yep.
Thanks.
Still not showing? Okay. Why don't we let's see if it's a persisting problem or if it's just there, okay? So let's go back into here. Just to show you this, I want us to click on here, all right? And just so you see it, this is not a big thing, okay? But I'm clicking on where it says Android guessing game, and I'm going to go down here into my common attributes. Okay, I'm going to find background. I'm going to click right here. on where it says pick a resource. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to choose color from what comes up here. If you look on the screen, I'm going to choose color. All right. And I'll just choose this light purple. It doesn't really matter. But is that pretty obvious what we just did? Yes? Okay. And then I'm going to go back into code mode just to show you. Notice what it did. All right. It actually put it in here. And it didn't put it on the bottom. It put it in there for us. See that? So again, you can do this either way. That's all I'm saying is you can set it up like we're doing it right now, where you put in all the code, the XML code, or you can do drag and drop, or you can do some kind of a combination thereof. All right, so we've got in the text view, right? All right, so underneath that text view, we're going to put in an edit text. And you see, again, immediately it comes up with this stuff. Well, again, the first thing I like in there is the ID. And this is ET, enter, guess. Oh, not like that, though. You need the @ sign, the plus sign, ID, slash. There we go. Now, you may still have some problems with this, Angie. Do you have all this stuff in, though?
I did.
Okay, then let's move this up. All right. These will both, again, be wrap content. All right, and I'm going to continue on from there. I'm again going to have a margin top. And I'm going to set that equal to 8 dp. Hopefully what you're noticing too, when I first did this, the little squiggly, the red squiggly was here. Now I put in another line, it's here. It's still looking for an end for this. So if I just come in and do that, it goes away. So I have no error now. All right. Okay, let's just keep on. All right. Now the next thing I'm going to put in, let's put it in and then we'll talk about what it means. So go ahead and put in that line and then just look up here if you would. So we have their Android M's equal 10. You may or may not be aware of it, but the letter M takes up the most room of any letter you can possibly type in. So M's means how many M's wide do you want that field to be? So we want it to be, it usually defaults to 10 anyway, but I wanted to put it in there so I could show you that. All right, so we've got that in there. We also want it centered. So we say Android gravity equals center. And that should center it both horizontally and vertically on where it is. Okay? All right. Now we're going to put in a hint. And again, that's from our string file. So @string / and this was the enter guess hint. That's right here. Oops. Some people like to do all of their strings first because that way basically it just falls in here like that. It's just a matter of what you like to do. All right, and what you get used to. All right, if you remember, we had that goofy error that we got where it came up. It wasn't an error, it was a warning with that yellow triangle that came up and it talked about you didn't have anything in your no-fill attribute, which I hate. So we can get rid of that by saying Android important for no-fill equals no. And again, that'll suppress that error from. There's other ways of getting rid of it as well. That's as easy as any other way. So again, I want the text color to be black, so I'm going to, just like we did before, I'm going to say Android text color equals £0000000. So it's black. Probably would have worked. There's other ways you can do this. You can say, I think it's @color/black, and probably would even work with just 3 £000 instead of 6. I just guess I'm used to doing it this way, so that's the way I'm going to do it. All right. The text size is going to be equal to 14 SP. And again, we're going to have some constraints. So I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to grab these from up here. You don't have to do that. But if you want to copy, you want to type. But I'm going to put it in like that. And what do we have? I want end parent, start parent, and top to the bottom of. So this one's different. The bottom of what? My title. All right, so that's that one. I'll give you a second to catch back up. Again, I'm going to save everything. You all caught up, Keegan? Caught up? Okay. So when I go back into design mode, now it's pretty obvious. Hopefully, when you look right there, it's pretty obvious what we've done so far, right? Okay. All right, I'm going back into code mode then. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to add 2 buttons. And again, the first thing I'm going to do, because I think that it's easiest when you set these up, basically, if you're setting up mostly the same properties, to have an order in which you do those. So again, I like to put the ID first. I just think it makes a lot of sense to do that. If you don't agree, just come up with your own way. btn calculate. All right. As these will, again, both be wrap content. What doesn't it like there? It says to support older versions, you should also add a mark. Well, that's what we're doing next. And you notice when I put the second one, the error went away. Now this is going to be an error for a while right here, because we're gonna call a routine right here that says when we click this button, we want to call play the game. We haven't written play the game yet. So this is going to be read. This one, this one will continue to be read for a while until, oh man, this one will continue to be read until we go back into our activity main file and actually write that routine. Then that redness from it will go away. All right. At the start of, the bottom of, so I'm going to copy these. Both caught up? All right. Now, you don't have to do it like this, but my next button is almost the same as this one. So I'm just going to copy everything to the clipboard, and I'm going to paste it right below. Now I'm going to get errors because I've already got a button by that name, right? So let's start changing this. That becomes button clear. Wrap 72, 72, 16. Margin top is, hold on a sec. Oh, that'll be not left. This will be end and right. Okay. 16. This will call another routine that doesn't exist yet. It's called clear all and set focus. All right, this will be clear button. This will be parent, and this will be ET enter guess. Okay. So right now you should have red where I have the red. Okay. Please make sure that this one says end and right, and that one says left and top. If you don't, you're going to put one button right on top of the other button. Does that make sense? The bad thing is it'll let you do that. So if you look, if I go over to design mode, here's where I am. Well, that looks funky. That's going to have to be fixed, but that's okay. We'll fix it. All right. I don't know why it's doing that, but it is. I'm doing the same exact measurements that I had before, and they all worked. So why it's doing it like that, I don't know, but we'll do the best we can to fix it in a minute. All right. So let's go back into code mode. And the only thing we got left is our text view, which is going to hold the answer. And the ID for this will be TV result. I think that's what we called it. Oops, don't want that. All right. Now this one, I gave it a size. Maybe that's not a good thing to do, but that's what I did anyway. So I made the width 300 dp, and I made the height 100 dp. I want to center the code that's in there. Oh, again, I'm just trying to be consistent with the way I did it. I want a margin top in there. And I made that 12 dp. Okay, and the gravity is center, that's good. That end of is going to be the end of parent again, so I'm going to copy that in. The next thing is something we have not talked about yet, but you may have seen it, you may not have. It's called a horizontal bias, 0.495. Basically, that's another way of centering. And then we want to do the start of and the bottom of. Okay, so let me grab these two. Put those in. Start of is parent, bottom of. Bottom is the bottom of one of the buttons. Okay. That is the entire interface. We are going to go back and make a couple changes just because it looked funky when we were in design mode. All right, so we'll fix that in just a second. You're caught up, Keegan? Okay. So when I go over to design mode now, mine looks like this. So the things that are screwed up are these. So I'm going to try to fix these. All right, that is all groovy, as they say. So I'm going to take this one. Well, that one for some reason is done over here. I don't want that. See this? See how this one is pushed all the way over to here? There's a mistake in my code someplace. I'm going to get rid of this constraint by I think if I click on it there. Let's do this one. What does it like here? This should be constrained to here. And now it is. That's fine. This one, the clear button, should be constrained to here. And now that is. Okay, so it's getting there. Just give me a second. So let's take this. That's not whatever I wanted. Way the hay over here. And I want this one to be way the hay over here. All right, so let's see if we can fix this now. Don't know why it's doing that, but it's one of the settings that I put in for the calculate button is wrong. So let me go back and look at the code for the calculate button. Content. Parent. I'm not sure what the problem is on that. But if I have to, I'll get rid of all the constraints and just start it all over again. So that's correct. That's correct. This will be correct in a second. This one is all screwed up though, and I don't know why that is. Don't know what is going on with that. You know what I'm going to do? I shouldn't do this, but I am anyway. I'm going to remove both buttons and put them back in again. I'm going to do it from here. And I thought, well, I'm going to show you something, teach you something really neat, and it's not working very well, so I want this to be correct. So that looks okay. Move that over. That's fine. I'm going to move this over, and that's fine. Then, then I'm going to tell the system I want this to be moved over. Oh, let's say about 64. And we'll do the same with that one, 64. Looks a little bit better. It could be moved over a little further, but that's not bad the way it is. So those two are done. Let's constrain these to each other. All right. And I want that distance between them. 28. wasn't good. Just move that. Come on. All right. You know this already. So on here, I want to get rid of that text, and I want to change it to the button calculate. So that's that. That'll fix that one. And this one I want to change to the button clear. So that'll fix that one. I should fix the names. So this will become BTN calculate. And yes, I want to refactor and change all of it. This one will become BTN clear. And again, I wanted to refactor and change all of it. There. All right, so what's left on here? My buttons. Okay, it is telling me right now, if you take a look up on the screen, it's saying these buttons are not set up vertically. They're not constrained, and they're not. So the easiest way to do this, if you want to do it graphically, is to take your mouse and then literally just bring it here, and then take this one and bring it there. See what I did? But I want these both to go down a little because they're way too close now as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just going to bring that down. Let's just bring it down 8 here and 8 here. Okay? So the only thing that's left is my text view for the result, and that's not constrained here. See that? So I can constrain that to either button. So I can just grab that one, constrain it there, pull it down. Let's make it about 16. And everything is done except my ET enter guess. It says it does not specify an input type. We'll fix that one in just a minute. All right, so this is, right now, this is what this looks like. I should have come in here and probably, really I wanted a hint for that. And the hint will be, come on, there we go. Results here. Okay. Now, I got a question for you. You might say, well, you really screwed that up. Not really. All right. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you the way mine looks now in code mode. So if you want to change anything, you can, but you don't have to. So taking it from the top, this doesn't change. This will basically be set for every button that, every UI that we create. So I did change this one. Some of this got changed. You'll notice that since it's my text view that's on top, it's the title, all the constraints on there, the end, the start, and the top are all to the parent. So it's saying hook on because it's right near the top anyway. All right. And the only thing that moved it down a little bit was this margin right here for 16 dp. Does that make sense to both of you? This is the size. I mean, if I decided, for example, look on the screen if you would. There it is. But if I decided I wanted it to be bigger, I could just come in here, put in 24, go back, and it's bigger now. All right, it's not a big thing, but just so you've seen that, okay? So that's the first one. Let's go back to, so this is the edit text. I think we've gone over the major components or the major things that are in here. You're both good with that? All right. Then here's the text view. You're both good with that? All right. When we take a break, if you need me to print off something, I'll be more than happy to print it off. You've got all that? Correct? Okay. Here are the two buttons. Well, here's the first button. Actually, that's both buttons. Good. All right, and then finally, well, I guess what else? Oh, the text view. So how did I lose my text view? Where is that? This is the results. Well, I put the re-put the buttons in later, so I'm just going to move this down. You don't have to do that, but I like it in the order that it actually is appearing on the screen. Okay, so this should look exactly the same when I go back to design mode. There it is. All right. Now, just because I think it's a little bit hard to see with this being white, I'm going to click on this right here by itself, and I'm going to go over to background. Just because, like I said, I think it's a little bit hard to see. And I'll go to color, and let's make the background this. Okay, maybe you might say that's worse. It won't be once we start putting stuff in. All right. Questions on what we've done so far? All right, because now we're ready to go into activity main, not the actual activity main Java file or main activity, and put stuff in. So let's do that. We'll go till about 10 after 1, and we'll take a break. All right. So right now at the top, and again, I've already told you this, but I'm saying it to you again anyway, and that is we can manually put these in ourselves, all these import statements, or we can, as we put in stuff, we can let the system kind of put them in for us. Let's put them in ourselves just so we've got them. So I'm going to put in about six of them or so. You'll notice that they'll all come in right now as being in gray because we're not using them in code yet, but we will. Now those are all of our Android inputs, but I'm going to have a Java input too, because that's for our random number. So you don't. I just put it on a line with a line between them. You don't have to do that. You can do that. So that's what we have in there right now. And right now where you see I have all these warnings right here, it's just telling me I've got these unused things, unused imports. That's all they are. Okay. You're caught up? Okay. Are you caught up, Keegan? Okay. Okay. Told everybody this morning I don't have to do it with you guys yet, but stopped at Walmart yesterday and got new markers. I think it's the first time in 2 years we've had new markers here. So I'm going to declare and initialize program constants. And I've got 7 of them. So that's saying the minimum guess we're going to allow the user to make is 1. The maximum guess we're going to allow the user to make is 100. Make sense? I'm not going to put a comment on the side there. You can if you want to. That's totally your call. Let's move these over a bit. Oops. Now that's going to let the user know that she or he did not make a guess, period. All right, so. Okay, gotta stop being so anal, but you'll see it in a minute. Oh, that's too T-O-O low, sorry. I can't spell either. All right. So those are our program constants. Now, what should make sense to each of you, if you just for a second, I'll come right back to this, but if you look on the screen here, that's where this stuff is. This is going to basically, what's going to appear here is either guess too low, guess too high, or correct guess. Okay, that thing that said no guess attempted, I think we put that down in here as a toast. I don't remember, but we'll see in just a minute. All right. Questions on anything up to this point? All right. So I'm going to say declare widgets. What are those? Edit text. And then the first one is ET guess. Again, I want to make sure I'm using the same names. You don't have to do that. I could call them, Keegan, Angie, it doesn't matter, but I like to use this name to be the same name as this name. ET enter guess. To me, it just, then I can really see what goes with what. So I'm going to change that to ET enter guess. All right. Then I've got a text view, which I think we call TV result. Yep, TV result. In fact, I can just copy them. And then I've got my two buttons, and I know what those are called. One is BTN calculate, and one is BTN clear. All right. I'm also going to have 5 global variables. Whoa, geez. So declare and initialize global variables. Int, maybe not great names, but I call this one the random number. For now, I'm just going to set it equal to 0. Int guess, I'm going to set that equal to 0. Int num guesses, I'm going to set that equal to 0. Boolean, keep going, I'm going to set that equal to true. And another Boolean, active game, and I'm going to set that equal to false. That means I haven't started a game yet, and it's false because I haven't started the game yet. Okay, so those are all my variables. Any questions so far on any of this stuff? I'll give you a second, don't worry about it. So any questions though on anything we've done? All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to get our references to these widgets. That's when we use that find view by ID. And if you say I don't know what you mean, you're going to see it in a minute, but the point is you declare the widgets up above, and then it's an Oncreate where you actually have set up the references to the widgets. So I'm going to say that here. Set up references to program widgets. All right, and there are 4 of these. ET enter guess equals find view by ID r.id. Well, it's kind of nice now because when I put in ET, notice it's ET enter guess in both of them. I think that makes it easier. And what I'm striving for in here, not always showing it to you, but is to try to make this stuff as easy for you to understand as possible. All right. The next one we call TV result. Notice too when I did this how that's not, can you see how that's not gray anymore? All right. These will all ungray in just a minute. So TV result equals find view by ID r.id.TV result. That one's now ungrayed. BTN calculate equals find view by ID r.id.btn calculate. Oops, what did I call that? Hold on, did I not name that one? It's possible when I moved the stuff over I didn't name it, so I've got to check. So button BTN clear, I didn't. See this? I didn't rename mine. I should have. This should be BTN calculate. Okay, now when I go back in here, now it's going to find .btn calculate. There we go. And BTN clear equals find view by ID r.id.btn clear. So you'll notice I now have my references. These are all gray, whatever you call them, light purple. So are these. The other stuff, a lot of it is still, notice now button, edit text, and view, and text view. See how they're not grayed anymore? All right. So that's what we've done so far. All right. Now, this is going to be interesting because I'm blending 2 different programs that I did together. So we may end up getting an error in here, but I don't think we will. Okay. So I'm going to say in here, initialize global variables. Now we did initialize them up here, okay, but we're going to want to basically do this every time we start a new game, okay. So I've got 2 choices where I did this, where I've got number of guesses and keep going and active game, etc. Those I could keep them up here and initialize them, or I can do them down here. I'm just going to leave them in both places. It's not going to hurt a thing. So I'm going to say here num guesses equals 0. Keep going equals true. Active game equals false. And then et guess dot request focus, which you should know by now. It's not, it's et enter guess, sorry. Et enter guess. All right. What does that do? That makes sure that when we start, that's where the cursor is in that field. Okay? All right. So that's everything we put in Oncreate. Oncreate, you're going to see this in the next chapter, in chapter 2. They explain Oncreate in a lot of detail. So we're going to go over what all this stuff means. Oncreate is usually only called once. And it's designed to be like a constructor in that it's designed to give things initial values. All right, and to get things started, for lack of better words. All right, so now I'm in between my 2 curly braces here. I'm going to write the play the game routine. This is a fairly long routine. We'll write this one, and regardless of where we are at that time, we'll take a break. All right, so I'm going to put a comment here that says play the game called when a new game is to begin. You know, like that comment, just put your own in there. It doesn't really matter. You don't even have to put in a comment, but public void play the game. Now we're going to do this a little differently. We're going to put in here the word view and view again. The first one with a big V, the second one with a little v. And we'll go over what that means when we go over this whole routine in just a bit. Caught up? Okay. Now, I'm putting a lot of comments in here because I want you to understand what's going on. I'm going to say if active game is equal to false, or is flag is false, a new game is to be started. This should be because either A, the start of the program itself, or B, current random number was correctly guessed. In English, that's saying I want to start a new game when the program first starts. Also, if let's say the number was 57 and you guessed 57, I want to print the information, then I also want to start a new game. That makes sense? All right. So, if it's not an active game, now you know this already, we've talked about this many times. That means that active game is equal to false. All right, so what do we want to do? Well, we want to make it active, for lack of better words, okay? So we're going to say num guesses equals 0. And then we're going to call a routine. We're going to get an error because we haven't written this yet. Generate random number. All right, that's why that's red. Active game now is equal to true. And keep going is also going to be equal to true. So again, we're getting that error right now because we haven't written this routine, and the routine will be a brand new routine that we write in a minute that literally is about 4 lines long. All right. Why don't we just write that now just so this error goes away? Are you with me? So we're going to put more in here. Get to the bottom of play the game. So get down to here, hit enter a couple times, and we're going to put in a public void, generate random number, paren, paren. And it's literally 2 lines. Random, rand equals new random, and the random number equals, that should be an equal sign, not a minus. That's why I'm getting that error. All right. Rand dot next int that literally is the whole routine right there. That's everything. And why is that wrong? It should be a, there should be 2 sets of parens technically in here, and there should be a paren there and a paren there. All right. In English, what this says, okay, we said max guess was 100, right? We said min guess was 99. I'm sorry, min guess was 1. 100 minus 1 equals 99. Then we add 1 back onto this, making it 100. So this will give us, this right here will give us a random number between 0 and 99.9999, whatever, but less than 100. So we add 1 to it, so now it's going to give us a random number since we used next int between 1 and 100. That's what this is doing. So, I mean, you don't have to, but you can put a comment here that says generate a random number between 1 and 100. Okay? Does it make sense what's going on there? We've done this kind of thing in other languages before. All right. So let's jump back and finish this one up. So if it's not an active game, we're going to do all this stuff. Now, what we have to do when we get down to this point, when we get down to here, you're playing the game. You with me? You're playing the game. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure as we're playing the game, what we want to do is we want to attempt to convert whatever is in that text or that edit text into an int. But remember, there could be nothing in there, right? It's possible there's nothing in there. So we have to fix that. So put a comment here that says, if we get to this point, we are assuming that a guess has been made. So attempt to convert the value in the edit text, which represents the guess, to an int, and put it in the guess variable. Like I said, I mean, maybe I'm going a little overboard here with comments, but I want you to understand what's happening when we're doing all this stuff. So that's a simple try statement. And it says guess equals integer dot parse int et enter guess dot get text dot to string. Oops. It's got to be, we're wrong here. That's parse int. All right. So get text dot to string semicolon. All right. Now, what should make sense to you here is this right here, this line of text, that line of text is going out and it's taking whatever we put in to right there into enter guess, and it's attempting to convert it and turn it into a whole an integer. All right. And you know this already. What does that mean? That means either it's going to succeed or it's going to fail. All right, if it fails, that's why we have the catch. It'll fail because we have nothing in there and we get what's called a number format exception. All right, you got to give that a name. So I just said NFE for number format exception. So what this is doing, it says if there's a number format exception, We want to have a toast print at the bottom of the screen that says no guess, which we said before was no guess inputted. So that's what should show. All right, after we do that, there shouldn't be anything in there anyway, but just to be sure, we're removing anything that happens to be inside of that edit text, or that text box, I should say. We're removing anything that might be in there. All right, and Jeff, my error. ET, make that enter guess for both of these. Okay, because if there's nothing in there, what do we want to change? We want to make sure that's emptied out and the focus is put there. I was putting it down in here. You don't want to put it in there. That would be dumb. All right. So, and we return because there's no sense in going on. There wasn't any guess made. So, if we get to here, a guess was made. All right. Check to see whether or not the guess was within range. 1 through 100. Does that make sense? All right. So we're going to call the routine that we're going to write after the break. We only have about 10 more lines of code to write. But we're going to call this, we're going to get an error right now. So it's going to say keep going equals check for out of range input. I mean, hopefully you agree. I can't make the name much more descriptive than that. All right, we literally, I think we have like an if statement with just a couple lines in it now. So if keep going, well, if it's true, we put in a number that's within range. Does that make sense? All right. If it's not within range, we're not going to want to do anything. We just want to return. We won't even have to do that, and I'll show you why in a second. So if we're within range, so if we get to this point, a valid user guess was made. So now we increment the total number of guesses accumulator, and we check to see if the guess was too low, too high, or correct. So, does that make sense? So we have literally one more line of code, then it's time, 2 more lines of code. Number 1, well, since a valid user guess was made, we want to add 1, like I said, to our number of guesses. So plus num guesses, and we want to call check guess status. Again, we're going to get a red stuff there because we haven't written that yet. We will write that after the break. Now, it's been fudged up a little bit, but you understand what's going on. Is there anything that doesn't make sense other than maybe the fact that yours wasn't printing right? But is what's going on in here make sense to both of you? All right. So far, what we have done in here is we've gone in and we are checking in here, and we first check if it's empty. If it's empty, a toast should print down here, and we just return. Okay. If it's not empty, something was in there. Since we're going to set up the keyboard so it's numeric only, and I didn't do that yet, but we will, since we're doing that, what does that mean? Well, that means that we put in a number. All right. So what we want to do is we want to check to see if it's between 1 and 100. If it's not between 1 and 100, all right, what do? Well, it's up to us what we want to do. We could give an error message. We could write a toast. We could do anything. Would you agree with that? All right. Otherwise, we know that it was valid. Does that all make sense? And now that I'm looking at it, because like I said, some of this code is a year or 2 years old. And let me go back to here to the main activity. So if keep going was false right here, let's put an else in. All right. And we'll just say an out of range guess was made. All right. Do we have anything for that? Did we put anything in here? No guess attempted. Guess too low, guess too high. Should we, we can do that. Okay. How about final string OOR guess? I'm just adding this right now. OOR guess equals out of range guess made. Guess must be 1 through 100. Again, you can only account so much for human stupidity, right? I mean, if the person's going to just keep putting something out of range in there, the program will be fat and happy to allow them to keep putting something out of range in there. All right. We could give them, you get a few tries, and if you put in too many out of range guesses, we kick you out. If you wanted to do that, you could. All right. Then that's when you come in and when you start, thinking about a game. Okay, how smart do I want to make this game? All right. So you start to think about who my audience is for the game, for example. So you have this line now, Keegan? Do you have the line, Angie? Okay. So I'm going to grab pretty much this code that's right here. I don't need the return anymore. All right. But I'm just going to put this in, and I'm going to put a toast in, and this is going to say OOR guess. And again, I will come back since the guess was out of range. I'm going to clear out whatever was in there, and I'm going to request the focus for right there. Okay. Now I can't run it yet because we've called those two routines that we haven't written yet. All right. It's a lot later than it should be, but it's 121, so let's come back at 135. All right.